funding goals, you know, what are we giving to? What are we asking people to give to? You know, that depends, I guess, on your organization. I know a lot of times, like if it's a new computer lab or whatever, you know, naming opportunities can be, you got a little sign there on the computer, or, you know, this is given by or your business or whatever you want to do. So make sure you have those kind of opportunities available for whatever your projects are. I do want to talk a second about leadership, because just like a campaign, just like anything else, leadership's huge. Whether it's the annual fund chairperson, if you choose to have one, whether it's the administrator, whoever it is, you're going to have, the board is going to have to be 100% for sure. Because no one's going to give your organization if the board's not giving. You know that. And your leadership's going to have to give. In best case scenarios, your staff's going to have to give. Now, you know, we won't always see 100% from staff. It depends, but we want to make sure that they are involved and that they know that they are part of it. You know, it's ownership a little bit. So, but your board and your leadership staff absolutely have to be involved in this. Not only financially, they need to be a cheerleader. They need to be able to, you know, refer to that case statement, sing from the same hymnal. Everybody needs to know what's happening. Needs to know how this is going to affect the donor, how it's going to affect the community. So there's a lot of organization to be done in an annual fund. So with your leadership, and then you get your volunteers in place, volunteer leadership, have a good training. I couldn't stress that enough.
I have a question. Remember, I used to be on the board side.
Yeah.
So when you hear a board member stating, I just don't want to give.
I'll say, when do you roll off the board?
That's right.
You want to go early?
Yeah. But now as an employee,
yeah,
do you tell your supervisor you need maybe to think about this information that I've gathered from a conversation? Because now there's a different role.
Right. Yeah, the dynamics changed a little bit.
A month ago, I could have went to the chairman of the board and said, you know, you might want to talk to this person.
Right.
Because this person shared something that might be beneficial to your knowledge.
So you don't think you can still do that?
With the blessing of my boss, I guess I could.
Well, I guess it's approached differently, but you know, I mean, everybody's fundraisers in your organization. Everybody.
You have to also understand, Terry, who your boss is.
Yeah.
I know what I feel like. I know what your expectations are.
Yeah.
And I think you would perhaps, Daryl, have a conversation with you before you did that. That doesn't mean you would say no. You probably want to know that.
But it could come from him, or it could come a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to know who it is.
That's what I thought. I'm pretty clear about that.
I'll write it on a piece of paper.
Also, your leadership's going to know that they're going to have to spend a little time. They're going to have to take some time and carve it out for an annual fund. Not as much as for a campaign, but they still need to make a few calls. They need to have a few coffees. They need to maybe even solicit a few people face to face. You know, a lot of it's going to be mailings or the gala or whatever. But even at the gala or the, you know, whatever event you have, you want leadership there. You want them present, and you want them willing, able, and prepared to speak about why it's important to give and why they're giving. People don't usually ask, what's your board, how much is your board given, or how much is your leadership given. They just want to make sure that they've given. Because if they haven't, then that's a red flag. They want to know they're the ones that know about this place. If they're not giving, then I probably shouldn't give. So that needs to be very clear. And if you don't have in your board's job description that they have to give financially, it would be smart to have it in there. Some people have minimums. I don't know. It just, like with our board at Trinity, I could barely make the minimum. A lot of us could. But other boards, you know, I mean, it's, if you have a minimum, a lot of times if they could give up here, they're going to give down there. So, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's good to have people on your board that you know are not going to have much time for you because they know people, they've got a big name, and it gives credibility, even more so than you probably already had. I mean, you probably already had your own amount, but to have someone on the board of stature is you know, a good thing. But they need to be at least, hopefully they'll give if they have stature, they're going to give, but they may not get much time. But they can open doors, they can, you know, do a lot of other things. So, and then some people can give time and not much money, but yeah, like you said, if you can only give a little bit, you know, give a lot of time, a little bit of money, some organizations, they'll be great. It's ideal to have a board who can, most of them are givers, and then you have staff to do the doing, you know. In our case, we didn't have staff, so that's why we had a working board. You know, we did have those few donors who were the founders of the school that were the givers, and they had one of their children on the board, a grown child. So we still had that connection, and they gave to their family, so it was pretty significant. But other than that, on the board, it was mostly people who just were, well, couldn't make connections, you know. I mean, I knew people. I wasn't anyone, but I knew people. If you can say know people in such a small town, probably everybody knew them, but I knew them better, I guess. So yeah, as long as they're supportive, they're outwardly supportive, they make sure that people know that they're involved, they're happy with the organization, they're very supportive. Then, but yeah, your boards, your leadership is going to be huge.
What might that look like?
And it kind of depends on how much staff you have.
Okay.
But it may be that you have volunteers who, okay, I'm going to tell you how we kind of set it up at Trinity. Again, I know it's the school, and not everybody's school, but it kind of relates. With it being a religious organization, we had people that during the feasibility, well, this is a campaign, but during the feasibility study at some point, I'm sure that they've said that they would volunteer. Well, they better capture that and use that in annual fund too. So once we get people involved in the organization and the annual fund, they definitely need to give at some point. And these again are the people that are giving their time, but if they're asking people for money, they need to give too. So you kind of have to look at the volunteer and see what their talents are. Some people are good at asking, some people are not. If they're not good at asking, we don't want them to. They may be good at opening the doors and setting appointments. That's great. They may be good at bringing someone over and giving them a tour and telling them how great the organization is. But at our school, what we ended up doing, because it was a religious organization, we had a prayer and encouragement committee. So the reason I said that about the people who said that they would volunteer, if they say they want to, give them a place. Give them a place. So the prayer and encouragement committee, you can't hurt anybody right there. That's safe. It's a safe place. So they can pray for the campaign, they can pray for the volunteers, pray for leadership. And it was kind of cutesy, but they would, like when we hit a certain goal or whatever, they would send like $100,000 bar or, you know, some little kitschy thing that was cute. And it kept, you know, the volunteers upbeat and you know, so it was helpful for our organization because those people were involved. We did have people that would ask, but those were usually board members. I don't think we had anybody that was not a board member that actually asked for money. But maybe they do now, I don't know. But volunteers also, you know, like I was talking about earlier with the personal knowledge of people. You know, you can have a prospect verification committee just like you do in a capital committee. You know, if you're thinking, okay, these are our heavy hitters for the annual fund, let's get this little group together and say, okay, let's make a plan. You know, what do you know? Who would they react better to? That kind of thing. So it's kind of a scaled down campaign when it comes to that. You may not have that many committees, but if you can find people that want to volunteer, find them a place. Because that's only going to increase their giving. It's going to increase their awareness to their friends, everything else, and it's just going to help you grow. And like I mentioned earlier, we had a donor that came and said, you know, we're going to give you some money. find someone that wants to do a matching gift. Maybe it's a corporation or something. I think that's great for annual funds. Maybe the chair of the annual fund can do something like that. You know, maybe people will encourage their businesses to take part and be a part of that. You know, if some people do United Way or whatever, maybe they'll take up your organization. Who knows? So kind of keep those things in your mind too, because that's just making your pie grow bigger. Y'all have annual funds, so we don't really need to do this before you start an annual fund. But are you looking at foundations and things for when you have your annual fund? Are you really going kind of outside the normal people you go to? Look at some foundations, and you know, like foundationcenter.org can help you like put in what you are and who you are, and it kind of tells you what kind of foundations we give to your organization. Also corporations, associations in the area. So make sure you're not just sticking to one small group. Also, and this is, I know you were talking earlier about bringing in money that's not, for religious organizations even that are not your same denomination. I kind of laugh and say I'm half Jewish on my son's side, because he married a girl that's Jewish. She's Cuban and Jewish. He calls her his little Cuban, which is adorable. And so now he says he's Jewish, which is fine with me. And he is happy with the Lord. Well, he and his wife have been giving. They actually took a trip in college to Israel, and so they've been giving to that organization. I can't remember the name of it. And I said, well, is it because it's Jewish? He said, well, because it touched us, you know, which I appreciate. He's not giving a lot. He's 26 years old, but he's giving already. So I'm like, well, it's not because of that. It's because you had a personal touch. You know, these kids that come to children's home, these people come to hospitals, you know, even if it's a Baptist hospital or if it's a Presbyterian children's home, there are people who have been touched that are, you know, have different faiths. And don't forget those people, because, you know, I know, like, for a Baptist children's home we worked with, we rented one of those lists, you know, which actually is not a bad idea, and saw some people of high net worth in the area of all faiths, and so we sent a mailing out that was, you know, didn't say a lot about the religious aspect. I mean, it's still there. We're not hiding it. It's called, you know, whatever Baptist children's home, but we didn't include all the Bible verses and things like that, just because we, you know, we want to know them to know what we do, what happens to these children when they come there. So don't let those opportunities, you know, go. So you got to kind of think outside the box. How many of you do your case statement in-house versus like having it done by outsiders or firms or?
Ask that question again.
Yeah, like when you do a case statement, a publication that you use, either in solicitations or mail out or whatever, are you doing those in-house, or are you getting it? Okay. You think it's saving a significant amount of money, or you think they're just as good? And I ask that because you kind of have to be careful with how your publications look, because it's tricky. Like hospital foundations, things like that can probably have a little bit glossier look to them. You know, some other organizations don't need to look so glossy and professional. So it's kind of this balance of people want to see that you're professional and you've got your crap together, but they don't want to be like, oh, look at all this money they spent on this, and they could be serving the children, or they could be, you know, helping the students or whatever. So look at that every so often and get feedback, you know. Sometimes just ask people, what did you think about our publication? Did you like what it had to say? You know, did you like the look? I know some people do surveys every so often. Mention things like that.
So the philosophy, you have to spend money to make money, you have to balance that.
Yeah, you definitely have to balance that. You do have to spend money to make money. We all know that. And just like the events cost more money than mailings or face-to-face or whatever, but, you know, a lot of times it's necessary. But you don't want to spend so much at a gala even, that it looks like, wow, they've spent so much money that why can't they use this for their children?